Dinghai Fusheng Records. Chapter 39. Scorched Earth. Wind and snow gently receded, and the northern lands quietened down overnight. The 1,000-mile starry river on this winter night extended from the north to the south, guiding them along their way forward. Behind them hung the North Star in the azure night sky that gradually became more distant as they moved forward. The pack of wolves traveled south. White Mane carried Chen Xing and Xiao Shan, who was sound asleep, while Xiang Shu rode on another robustly built grey wolf. They tramped over mountains and through ravines all the way down south. The pack of wolves proceeded as quickly as a gust of wind and bore through a multitude of snow-capped mountains. They were more familiar with the terrain than horses, so they didn't have to stop and seek the correct path. It took only a day for them to complete the journey that had originally taken them 4 days to arrive at Longchang. At the sight of tens of thousands of wolves rushing into the city, the residents of Karakoram instantly flew into a panic, but when they saw that the person in the lead was Xiang Shu, they immediately called out the name of the great Chan Yu. They all knelt down one after and bowed with their foreheads on their hands in worship, as if they had just seen a god. Xiang Shu instructed them not to worry and to take the wolf pack into the stone palace. The wolf pack and humans didn't harm each other at all as they spent the long night together. Eat a little ba. Chen Xing roasted the meat given to them by the Xiongnu people. When he thought about how the king Akele who had been taking care of him along the way had already passed away, he felt even more stifled. On the other hand, Xiao Shan's eyes had reddened, and with a stubborn expression, he refused to eat anything. Xiang Shu looked at Xiao Shan and said, "People who don't eat meat and drink milk won't grow much." Xiao Shan just ignored him. Chen Xing was already thoroughly spent, and when he was about to try and persuade Xiao Shan again, Xiang Shu motioned to him to not care anymore and to just sleep first. In the middle of the night, Chen Xing heard Xiao Shan quietly get up and squat beside the embers of their bonfire. Soft chewing sounds could be heard, and only then did Chen Xing feel relieved. Perhaps from a very long time ago, Xiao Shan had already realized that his separation from Liu Ying was inevitable and was already prepared to bid him farewell. Chen Xing thought that he had been just like Xiao Shan when he was a child. Although his Shifu didn't tell him that his family had been destroyed, he could guess it all. At these sorts of times, nothing needed to be said. All he needed to do was to quietly accompany Xiao Shan by his side, and in time, this child would slowly manage to get through it. He didn't know where Xiang Shu went again. Chen Xing waited for a long while before getting up as quietly as he could. He went to find a blanket and covered Xiao Shan with it. This kid was really too skinny, and he was so skinny that he looked just like a ferret that had been thrown into a pile of mud. One's heart would ache just looking at him. After covering him with the blanket, Chen Xing rubbed Xiao Shan's small head that was peeking out of the blanket. He sighed, then got up to leave. Xiao Shan's pair of bright eyes had been wide open the entire time, and he didn't say a word. In front of the pagoda at the most elevated part of Karakoram, Xiang Shu leaned against his heavy sword as he faced the stars that hung low. A blanket draped across his knees as he stared with an indifferent expression towards the south. "What are you doing?" Chen Xing asked. "Night watch," Xiang Shu answered. Chen Xing casually said, "There are so many wolves, why are you still on night watch?" Xiang Shu didn't answer. He glanced at Chen Xing and raised an eyebrow. Chen Xing knew that he wanted to ask about Xiao Shan, so he answered, "He ate a little. He's asleep now." "You knew what I wanted to ask again," Xiang Shu said indifferently. Chen Xing suddenly realized something weirdly fascinating. In this whole world, he seemed to only possess a tacit understanding with Xiang Shu where they would each understand what the other meant without even saying anything. Was that because of the power of the heart lamp? The entanglement between exorcists and their protectors? Chen Xing walked up the steps, and Xiang Shu moved a little to make space for him to sit down. Both of them were covered with the same blanket. Chen Xing picked up the sword at the side and studied it. This divine weapon can actually transform into a bow, it's really strange. Xiang Shu glanced over and frowned slightly. Feng had picked up the sword before, but he had to exert a lot of energy to lift it, yet it seemed as light as a wooden sword in Chen Xing's hands now as he picked it up without any difficulty. The ensnaring nets of life and death bound firm and strong, hoping to be cut by the sword of wisdom. Chen Xing murmured, "Just don't know who passed it down." The two of them were wrapped in a blanket. A gust of wind blew, and Chen Xing consciously moved closer into Xiang Shu's embrace. "What are you thinking about?" Chen Xing asked Xiang Shu. Xiang Shu remained silent. Chen Xing continued muttering to himself as he frowned, "The Dinghai pearl, will it be in one of the other two places? I'll draw it out for you when we get back." Xiang Shu said calmly, "I remember it all." Chen Xing continued, "Kajera, Chi-Hi, where on earth could they be hiding?" Chi-Hi had travelled all over the Divine Land and didn't even pass over the far north. His purpose was to revive Chu, the ancient devil god. The silence of all magic seemed to have no effect on them at all. These people can control magic treasures with resentment. In other words, now their enemies have mana, but those on their side didn't and could only rely on the heart lamp and the divine weapon in Xiang Shu's hands. It was truly vexing. Also, even if they successfully found the Dinghai pearl, how would they release the spiritual chi of the heavens and earth stored within it? Destroy the magic treasure? Chen Xing vaguely thought of an even more serious problem if, as Liu Ying had mentioned, the Dinghai pearl truly had the ability to travel through time and change the past and future, then after exorcist Zhang Lu obtained it, he might have already taken it with him and left his present world 300 years ago. That is to say, this magic treasure may exist thousands of years ago or thousands of years later, so the chances of them finding it has now grown even more slim. Even if they did manage to find the Dinghai pearl and restore the mana of the world, how were they supposed to seal Chu by relying just on the strength of the humans? When he thought of this, Chen Xing felt like he was about to go mad. The more Chen Xing thought about it, the more anxious he felt, so he clutched Xiang Shu's neck and shook him back and forth. "Xiang Shu." Chen Xing felt a little despondent, and his brows furrowed deeply. This was truly too complicated. He glanced at Xiang Shu's expression that seemed to be asking, "Are you rebelling?" and could only scratch his head in frustration before shrinking back under the blanket. "Where next?" Xiang Shu asked. "Back to Chi-Eli-Chuan. Chen Xing said, "Ensure your tribesmen's safety first." "Xiang Shu, I meant, the Dinghai pearl could be in two different places." Chen Xing uttered in distress, "Why is this so difficult? And there wasn't even a lot of time to begin with, damn it." Chen Xing had even thought that if the problem could be resolved early, then in the little time he had left, he would roam about through the mountains and forests and travel around the Divine Land to admire the famous rivers and mountains. But from the looks of it now, with the 3 years he had left, he might even get smacked to death with one palm by the devil god Chu in the end. His future was practically covered with thistles and thorns. "Go back and take care of your people first, ba." Chen Xing said gloomily, "Give me the map, and I'll find a way. If I really can't figure something out, I'll write a letter to you for help. I'll go sleep now. Chi-Eli-Chuan will be okay." Xiang Shu answered, "Chi-Li-Feng will look after it." The next morning, when Chen Xing woke up, he realized that he had returned to the stone palace and was sleeping with Xiao Shan. Xiao Shan seemed to have treated him as Liu Ying and was curled up comfortably in his embrace just like a small animal. Xiang Shu whistled outside and shouted, "Let's go." The Xiangnua people prepared a sled used specially for speeding through snowfields for the great Chanyu and harnessed it to the wolf. The three of them got on the sled. Xiang Shu gave the residents here a few instructions, telling them to spend the winter at Chi-Eli-Chuan, then drove the sled and left Longchang. Xiao Shan was in a much better mood now. With a blanket wrapped around him, he wiped his 2 steel claws on the sled. The pack of wolves flew through the snow, and they were almost at the end of their 400-mile journey in the blink of an eye in less than 2 days. Chen Xing had always been boggled by the loads on his mind as he planned when to go to the next place to search for the Dinghai pearl. When he saw Chi-Eli-Chuan appear in the mist, his mood finally improved. Chen Xing thought that he should teach Xiao Shan how to speak, so he had only been talking to him in the Han language all the way there, regardless of whether he understood it or not. When you're home, Chen Xing said to Xiao Shan, we'll have to give you a bath first. Xiao Shan scrutinized Chen Xing with alert eyes. Chen Xing said, the place we're about to arrive at is Chi-Eli-Chuan. The pack of wolves gradually slowed down. Chen Xing asked Xiang Shu, there are so many wolves, we can't bring them all in, we'll have to bid farewell to them outside. Suddenly, without saying a word, Xiang Shu jumped off the sled when they were more than 100 steps away from Chi-Eli-Chuan. Xiao Shan! Xiao Shan let out a strange noise. The sled slowed down. Chen Xing stood up slowly on the sled and looked at the scene before him. The entire Chi-Eli-Chuan area had been burnt to ashes. At the foot of the Yin Mountains, pitch-black tents could be found everywhere. Dead, charred bodies littered the ground. An avalanche had buried the northeast mountains. There were Xiangnu, Tile, and other Hu corpses floating in the river. After the river thawed, it had frozen over again and sealed the corpses in a layer of ice. Chen Xing. Xiang Shu walked into Chi-Eli-Chuan in silence. The atmosphere was so quiet it seemed eerie. A few crows were perched on the royal tent in the distance. They turned around to look at Xiang Shu, and within an instant, they flapped their wings and flew away. Xiang Shu, Chen Xing whispered. Xiao Shan got off and landed on the snow. He looked around him, sniffed the scent carried by the wind, then turned around and with his steel claws on the ground, dashed through the snow towards somewhere. Xiang Shu passed through the ghastly sight of Chi-Eli-Chuan's ruins without saying a word. Intense resentment pervaded the surroundings. When they arrived at the royal tent, Chen Xing instantly shouted loudly. His vision went black and he almost fainted. Outside the royal tent, the corpse of King Akele's consort lay curled up with the little prince still being hugged tightly in her arms. The mother and son pair had been dead for a long time. Chen Xing was so angry that he instantly spat out a mouthful of blood. His vision blurred, and all he saw were double images shaking in front of him. The scenery in front of him seemed distant at times, and then near at others. Xiang Shu, who was next to him, grabbed Chen Xing's arm with one hand. Chen Xing finally couldn't hold on any longer and fell to the ground, unconscious. Without knowing how much time had passed, snowflakes landed on his face, and an icy cold hand patted his cheek. Chen Xing woke up, only to see Xiao Shan squatting next to him with the dragon claws on his back. He tugged on Chen Xing's sleeve a few times to ask him to get up. Chen Xing sat up in a daze, and only then did he come back to his senses. His tears were about to overflow, and he felt so upset he wanted to die. King Akele had protected him all the way to Karasha, and in order to save him and Xiang Shu, he had even sacrificed his own life. His wife who was far away in Chi-Eli-Chuan had become his only hope, for which he would not even hesitate to die for. But he didn't know that the consort and little prince had died like this at Chi-Eli-Chuan. Who did this? Chen Xing's grief and indignation reached its peak as he shouted in anger. Xiao Shan jumped back in fright. At that moment, even the heart lamp couldn't calm Chen Xing's rage. He sat in front of the royal tent, his whole body trembling constantly as he only thought about killing. He wanted to hack the body of the perpetrator of all this into pieces. Xiao Shan pointed to the distance and motioned for Chen Xing to look. Chen Xing looked up, only to see Xiang Shu's figure walk out from under the dark and gloomy sky. He carried a corpse on his back and clasped another under his arm as he passed through the open space where Chi-Eli-Chuan held their autumn close festival. He brought the dead to the riverside where cremation was once held, threw them down, then silently turned around and went to another tent to find his dead tribesmen. Xiang Shu, Chen Xing's voice trembled. The atmosphere seemed extremely dangerous. Judging by Xiang Shu's character, he didn't know what he would do next. If Che Lufeng? Chen Xing didn't dare imagine what it would be like when Xiang Shu saw Che Lufeng's corpse. He immediately got up and chased after Xiangshu. Ever since Xiangshu entered Chi-Eli-Chuan, he had not spoken a single word. Chen Xing looked at his back and said, "Xiangshu." Xiangshu glanced at Chen Xing. He carried 2 corpses on his back and moved them to the riverside. Chen Xing took a deep breath. He pushed a worn-out cart over and carried the corpses onto it. Yet Xiangshu raised his hand, signaling for Chen Xing to not touch the dead. So Chen Xing could only stand at one side and watch. Xiangshu carried 5 or 6 corpses onto the cart. Chen Xing noticed that Xiangshu would use one hand to cover the eyes of each of the dead, then whisper in the Tile language before putting them on the cart properly. His movements were very gentle, as if he was afraid of startling them awake. Only after that did Xiangshu motion for Chen Xing to push the cart over. "Xiangshu," Chen Xing uttered worriedly. Xiangshu motioned for Chen Xing to go and not care about him. Chen Xing wiped his tears. Together with Xiao Shan, each of them held one belt connected to the cart shafts on each side and moved the corpses to the river bank. There were more than 3,000 deceased. The sun set, then rose again, and an entire night had passed. Chen Xing finished counting the dead before staring at Xiangshu blankly. "No Che Lufeng," Xiangshu finally said his first few words. Chen Xing breathed a slight sigh of relief. There were more than 30,000 people under Chi-Eli-Chuan. There were 3,000 deceased here, but fortunately there weren't any more, and Che Lufeng was still alive too. When the unforeseen event happened, Che Lufeng must have led the other tribesmen to fight and retreat from this place. Xiao Shan picked up a rusty sword from somewhere and handed it to Xiangshu. Xiangshu glanced at it, then nodded to signal that he understood. That was the weapon brought by the ancient Xiangnu living dead after they were awakened in Mount Karasha. Chen Xing said, "Where did they go? Were they captured?" After the scuffle in Chi-Eli-Chuan, heavy snow fell and all of the footprints on the plains had been covered up. But Xiao Shan went to the periphery and cried with an AO to call the wolves who were watching from the sidelines. The pack of wolves gathered around. With the weapon in hand, Xiao Shan let the wolves look at it and sniff it, then the wolves split up and scattered all over the mountains to find them. After Xiangshu cremated the corpses, he sat at a high place in silence. "Xiangshu," Chen Xing said. "I'll be your protector." Xiangshu said, "I want to hunt them down to the ends of the earth. I'll save my tribesmen." "Xiangshu," Chen Xing gasped, "You, calm down." When Xiangshu looked at Chen Xing suddenly felt a sense of dread. A cold chill ran down his spine because the Xiangshu before him had eyes filled with hatred, and it really resembled Longchang's gaze when he was staring at them outside Chang'an city. "Xiangshu, I'm no longer qualified to be the great Chanyu. I can't even protect my own people." Chen Xing said, "Shulakong, your heart is now filled with vengeance. You must calm down first." Wolves came over from outside. Xiao Shan jumped up and mounted the wolf, then barked at them with AOAOUS. Xiangshu immediately carried his sword on his back and rushed out of Chi-Eli-Chuan, darting across the snow as he followed the wild wolf that was leading the way. Chen Xing quickly gave chase. Xiangshu didn't slow down so Chen Xing couldn't catch up. Xiao Shan, who was riding White Mane, made a turn back and signaled to Chen Xing to mount the wolf as well, then carried Chen Xing as they followed behind Xiangshu. "Xiao Shan," Chen Xing said. Xiao Shan turned around and cast a doubtful glance at Chen Xing. Chen Xing thought about when Liu Ying entrusted this child to them, he did it so that they would take care of Xiao Shan, but unexpectedly Xiao Shan had been of such great help. "Thank you," Chen Xing said. "Chen Xing." Xiao Shan said, "Chen Xing." Chen Xing laughed bitterly and nodded. "Chen Xing." Xiao Shan, "Chen Xing, Chen Xing. We've arrived." Chen Xing didn't expect that it would be so close to Chi-Eli-Chuan. Deep in the southeast Yin Mountains, outside a long and narrow canyon, the sounds of fierce warfare could be heard. A bugle horn was blown, followed by the shouts of the Hu people, and a group of cavalry dashed out from the canyon. Without a word, Xiang Shu unsheathed his sword while on foot. When Chen Xing caught up, he saw legions of the living dead outside the canyon. Hold on! Xiang Shu! Chen Xing shouted. Xiang Shu had already turned sideways, and along with his sword, knocked harshly into the periphery of the encirclement. Xiao Shan cried out with an "Aou" as well and shook out his steel claws on both hands. He leapt up from behind the wolf and lunged over through the air. Chen Xing grabbed onto the giant wolf tight. The giant wolf jumped off a cliff and took a shortcut to cut through the battle formation. The pack of wolves surged into the canyon like a roaring tide. The Hu people, who couldn't hold on any longer at first, were constantly retreating. The situation was actually reversed now. The Great Chanyu is back. Great Chanyu! The beating of war drums from within the canyon shook the heart. With one spurt of energy, the Hu cavalry poured out with a loud rumble. Chen Xing surveyed the surroundings to search for the leader of the living dead army. When he looked up, he saw a black armored general standing on the cliff high above. That black armor design, it was the one they had met at Karasha, the prince of Dinghai, Sima Yu. Xiang Shu! Above you! Chen Xing shouted. Xiang Shu shouted, "Give me mana!" Chen Xing immediately activated the heart lamp. Xiang Shu was situated in the enemy's ranks with the living dead on all four sides. He shook his heavy sword, and just when he was about to transform it into a giant bow, the heavy sword unexpectedly didn't shine with a bright light this time. The giant wolf turned around and rushed towards the periphery of the encirclement. A bright light was bursting from Chen Xing's hand as he kept approaching Xiang Shu. Xiang Shu swept his heavy sword across the enemies, but he had lost the formidable power of the heart lamp. "Give me mana!" Xiang Shu shouted again, "Don't come over!" Chen Xing urged it a few times, but he couldn't awaken the light on the heavy sword no matter what, and thought, "What's going on? Give me mana!" Xiang Shu forced away the group of corpses that rushed over. He was already very close to the black armored general. He could shoot him down the cliff with just one arrow, but Chen Xing's support never came. He finally burst out in anger, "What's going on? What are you doing? Do something!" Chen Xing snapped out of his daze and shouted, "I can't! Retreat!" Soon after, the black armored general high above instead tugged on the string of a black bow and arrow that was emitting black vapor shot over hundreds of steps towards Xiang Shu with a whoosh. Seeing that there were more than 100 steps between Chen Xing and Xiang Shu couldn't get out of the way in time anymore, Xiao Shan flew over from the side, and with one claw, smacked the arrow away with a clang. The array behind blew the bugle horn again. The Hu army shot out fire arrows that blotted out the sky within an instant. Fire rain descended like meteors, and the wolves began scuttling away. Chen Xing shouted, "Run! Protect your tribesmen first!" So Xiang Shu could only let out an angry shout. He dragged Xiao Shan over and threw him onto a wolf, then retreated into the canyon. The living corpse army receded like a tide. The canyon was filled with panicked Hu people who had all brought their families along. Xiang Shu was riddled with wounds from head to toe. Using his heavy sword as support, he walked towards the entrance of the canyon. More than 200,000 people, no one even had time to take their livestock or valuables along, and were all crowded together just like that. From the expressions on their faces, one could tell how frightened they had been while escaping. "Where's Che Lufeng?" Xiang Shu looked around. No one answered. Chen Xing's heart thudded. End chapter. Dinghai Fusion Records. Chapter 40. Responsibility. A calamity indeed comes fiercely and without warning. According to the people of Chi-Eli-Chuan, 3 days after Xiang Shu had departed, the living corpses legion had appeared out of nowhere and breached Chi-Eli-Chuan. Originally, as the great Chanyu had ordered, everyone had strengthened their guards. They patrolled all over the place, made the surroundings brightly lit, and also released many hawks to investigate the movements around the area. However, an unforeseen event still happened, and furthermore, it had started from inside Chi-Eli-Chuan. The first hints of information had come from the Yin Mountains' northeast corner. At first, every clan chief still thought it was just a fight between tribes, but the disturbance became bigger and bigger. It became out of hand, and the whole Chi-Eli-Chuan was in chaos. Living corpses emerged in the night and crazily gnawed all over the place. In a pitch-black night, people couldn't even see their fingers when they tried to extend their hand. All clan chiefs were afraid to injure their own people, so they had no choice but to retreat again and again. They organized defensive lines, but they were very quickly toppled down. But then, another group of living corpses, the one that had previously been hostile to them, stormed into the camp. Led by Yuduo, they abandoned the living people and instead fought with the first group of living corpses, the ones which first appeared in the night. Yuduo, Chen Xing murmured, "Yes, Yuduo is here for revenge." Chen Xing trembled with fear from the retelling, and from the speaker's words, he could guess how chaotic and desperate the situation was back then. Tile, Jiok, Xiangnu, Lushui, Northern Ji, Wuheng, and the rest of the leaders of the Hus assembled together beside the bonfire in an open space, each of them looking solemn. Their surroundings were dark, and everyone stood guard like dauntless defenders, not saying any word, waiting for Xiangshu to make a decision. What is in the northeast corner? Chen Xing had a hunch that since the turmoil started from the camp inside Chi-Eli-Chuan, it must have had something to do with the Hus living there. Ruren's camp, Xiangshu whispered. Before Xiangshu left, he had asked Che Lufeng to act on his behalf as the great Chanyu, yet the living corpses first appeared in the Ruren's camp. During the whole process of the fall of Chi-Eli-Chuan, Che Lufeng never showed up. After that night that shook every Oneto the core, all the Hu chiefs eventually gathered the defeated army, withdrew from the lower plain of Yin Mountains, and set fire to their own homes, not caring about supplies and belongings at all. And so, a fire burned Chi-Eli-Chuan to the ground, and nearly 240,000 Hus of various races evacuated in a hurry and fled deeper inside the Yin Mountains. A few days later, the living corpses returned, this time blocking the entrance to the canyon in an attempt to trap them inside. Their leader is Yuduo? Chen Xing asked. Based on the fragmented information, he deduced that Yuduo and Che Lufeng's Ruren clan had a blood feud in the past. The unrest began in Ruren's territory, and it was very likely that Yuduo had broken through there first. Wuheng's chief said to Chen Xing in the Xianbei language, "No, the Akele's consort said that she caught sight of Che Lufeng and Zhou Zhen, and also Yuduo. She wanted to stay behind so she could take revenge for her eldest son." Chen Xing. Xiangshu. Xiangshu raised his head from the bonfire and gave a look that implied how impossible that was at the Wuheng's chief. He was immediately reprimanded by someone and told not to talk nonsense. The chiefs sat around the bonfire, and Chen Xing clearly saw the mistrust in their faces. Their trust in the great Chanyu, Xiangshu, was weakening, and from their attitude, it was clear that they thought this had something to do with Chen Xing. First, Xiangshu, after becoming the great Chanyu, had gone missing several times. Next, he also handed over such an important responsibility to Che Lufeng, who was obviously not the kind of person who was able to serve common people, before rushing to the north without any explanations. Even if it were unrelated to Chen Xing, Che Lufeng was Xiangshu's sworn brother. The fact that he hadn't appeared during the whole incident had caused great dissatisfaction in Chi-Eli-Chuan. "Great Chanyu," the Wuheng's chief said, "what do we do now? We have no food, and the people can only dig out some snow to suppress their hunger. Our home is destroyed," the Jiok's chief said, "and we don't even know the culprit's location. How can we get our revenge?" "This is preposterous," someone said. And then, the crowd went into an uproar. Xiangshu took a deep breath, his brows knitted, and he suddenly got up. Chen Xing felt that at this moment Xiangshu's only concern was to lead a group out of the canyon to find Che Lufeng. Everyone, please go back and get some rest. Chen Xing looked around. He knew that he should say something and let Xiang Shu calm down first, so he quickly explained, tomorrow morning, the great Chanyu will give everyone an explanation. What's your position? The Lushui's chief rudely said, what qualifications do you have to speak for the great Chanyu? Everyone suddenly gave him a meaningful look, and the Tile's chief said, this is the divine doctor. Don't you recognize him? It was so dark at night, and Chen Xing's whole body was covered in dust, so the Lushui's chief hadn't recognized him at first. After realizing who Chen Xing was, he didn't continue to ask. After all, Chen Xing had been treating patients and saving lives in Chi-Eli-Chuan for several months and was rather famous. Xiang Shu's prestige was still there too, and after already waiting for so many days, there was no need to hurry. Everyone soon scattered. Xiang Shu and Chen Xing went back to the Tile's camp. Along the way, they passed through numerous eyes of the Hus looking for answers. Xiang Shu didn't dare to look at them. Ever since he became the great Chanyu, this was the first time he had encountered such a serious incident. Why was the heart lamp not working? Xiang Shu asked Chen Xing. Chen Xing said, ask yourself. Let go of my hand. Shulakong. Chen Xing struggled several times trying to pry his wrist out of Xiang Shu's hold. Xiang Shu said in a threatening manner, explain to me. Chen Xing didn't yield and instead stared at Xiang Shu. His eyes gave out a dignified feeling, it unexpectedly startled Xiang Shu and made him release his hand. There was only vengeance in your heart, said Chen Xing. Since your heart was overwhelmed by hatred, you couldn't feel my heart lamp. It was like a slap on his face that made him suddenly wake up. Ever since coming back to Chi-Eli-Chuan, he only saw the devastation in front of his eyes. His clansmen's location was unaccounted for, and their life or death was all unknown. He was deeply trapped in guilt and hatred. With anger occupying his mind, he couldn't reason at all and only wanted to dismember whoever had attacked Chi-Eli-Chuan. His eyes were full of grief and indignation, and he was blinded by killing intent. Of course, in that way, he wouldn't be able to resonate with Chen Xing's heart lamp. When you saw your people's misfortune, hatred occupied your entire mind, Chen Xing deeply frowned and reprimanded him. I've also seen my people's corpses lying all over the field, but have you seen me trying to get revenge on anyone? The dead have already passed on, the most important thing you should worry about now is how to protect the living. The present is the most important thing. I know, Xiang Shu took a deep breath and closed his eyes. Chen Xing said, now is Chi-Eli-Chuan's most dangerous time. If you let your emotions take over you again, you won't need to give any explanation tomorrow morning because I'm afraid everyone will be buried here instead. Xiang Shu raised his slightly trembling hand, motioning to Chen Xing that he didn't have to say anything more. A moment later, Xiang Shu finally regained his composure. Chen Xing, as for today's plan, we must. Xiang Shu said, it's really not a good idea to send scouts to find another way to leave the mountain. At dawn, come with me, we'll lead a team and try finding a different path. Chen Xing nodded in agreement. More than 200,000 people were hiding here and must be moved as soon as possible. The most important thing for now was the lives of the clansmen. When the Tile chief came, it was a man named Shi Moken, his name meaning sound of the arrow. He was a warrior brought up by the previous great Chanyu, Xiang Shu's father. He was in his 40s, he was very reliable and also respected by the whole clan. The Shola family was a part of the Tile clan, but since he became great Chanyu, Xiang Shu no longer managed the affairs of his own clan and handed everything over to Shi Moken. Shi Moken didn't hide it away from Chen Xing as he told Xiang Shu, Shulakong, your Enda, Che Lufeng, slaughtered all the Akele people, young, old, and even the babies weren't let off. His subordinate and warrior, Zhou Zhen, was resurrected and became a living corpse Yao. This unrest is all caused by Che Lufeng. Today, the chiefs are all here, I can't help but say that you must give us an explanation. Chen Xing. Xiang Shu's hand trembled a little, and he motioned for Chen Xing not to interrupt. Too much had happened today, and bad news came one after another. Did you see this with your own eyes? Xiang Shu's brow twisted tightly. Compared to the miserable scene he saw when he first returned to Chi-Eli-Chuan, this information hit him even harder, unexpectedly making him a little unsteady. I heard it, Shi Mokan said, while we were evacuating Chi-Eli-Chuan. Our clansmen and the Akales were moving on the rear. Many people saw both Che Lufeng and Zhou Zhen, side by side chasing and killing the Akales. They took away the Akales' little prince, and so the consort led people to attack them back. At this time, a hand stretched out from the side and pulled down Chen Xing. Chen Xing turned his head and saw that it was Xiao Shan. Xiao Shan was squatting on the ground. He suddenly took out a piece of pastry that came out of nowhere and handed it to Chen Xing, signaling him to eat. Xiang Shu took a deep breath and glanced at Chen Xing. Chen Xing nodded, knowing that he meant for him to take Xiao Shan away. He soon took Xiao Shan with him to the edge of the tile camp. Xiao Shan jumped around and soon threw himself on Chen Xing's back, as if he wanted him to carry him. Chen Xing had no choice but to carry him up. Che Lufeng, Zhou Zhen. What to do now? Chen Xing looked to the tile camp not far away. He saw that Xiang Shu had followed Shi Mokan inside the main camp, beginning to discuss matters with the tile people and trying to find a solution. Who gave you food? Chen Xing asked Xiao Shan. What about the wolves? Xiao Shan pointed to the place where the Xiongnu people had gathered, and Chen Xing understood that the food was coming from there. The wolves spread out, each of them sitting on the rocks on the top of Yin Mountains, occupying the high point and staring out into the distance. Chen Xing climbed the hillside, and he saw that further away, the living corpses had yet to disperse, and instead, they formed groups of 3 to 4 amidst the snowfield, slowly moving in. Although they were near the entrance of the canyon, they didn't rashly charge in. What are they waiting for? Chen Xing frowned. Xiao Shan, sitting next to Chen Xing, had just finished eating pastry when a thin, one-eyed wolf came over. It carried a strange animal on his back. The animal had long hind legs and short forelegs, its entire body was covered in khaki-colored hair, and it had a silly face. What is this? Chen Xing looked curiously at the strange animal on the wolf's back. The animal made a breathing sound a few times, and Xiao Shan patted its head. Chen Xing said, "This is a bai ma? Yin Mountains have bais." As the old saying goes, the wolves and the bais collude together. It was rumored that bais were very intelligent animals, often giving wolves advice on how to harm people. This was the first time Chen Xing had seen a living bai. That bai seemingly wheezed on the ground, as if it wanted to say something. Xiao Shan pushed Chen Xing, hinting at him to follow it. "You find anything, ma?" Chen Xing asked. "Ma?" Xiao Shan replied. Xiao Shan occasionally imitated Chen Xing's words, but he didn't know what they meant. When Chen Xing had some free time, he used it to teach Xiao Shan. After all, he would need to return to the human world sooner or later. "Stand up and walk on foot," Chen Xing said. "Stand up and stand straight." Xiao Shan always liked to walk using all 4 limbs, and with the extra 2 claws, he could run like the wind. He was a little unwilling when Chen Xing asked him to stand and walk on foot, but since through some observations, he saw that all the Hus were walking upright, he reluctantly walked according to what Chen Xing asked him to. Chen Xing originally wanted to return to Chi-Eli-Chuan, gave Xiao Shan some clothes, and then bathe him, but because of the current situation, there was no such opportunity. "What's in here?" Chen Xing was taken by Xiao Shan to a cave. Only a slight breeze could be felt inside the cave. Xiao Shan drew several mountains on the ground. He first pointed all around before pointing at the cave and drawing a slender stick man outside of the mountains. Then, he drew a line that passed through the mountains and went towards the stick man. He ended the line with an arrow symbol. "Great! A cave! This mountain cave can possibly lead out. Chen Xing exclaimed, "Great! You are so clever!" The wolf that carried the bay on its back walked out of the cave. Xiao Shan waved his claws again, and Chen Xing immediately understood that he wanted to launch a sneak attack on Sima Yu, one of the Black Shadow generals. Not only because the group of living corpses invaded Mt. Karasha in the past, but because it also led to the deterioration of Liu Ying's condition. Although Xiao Shan didn't know the reason, he could feel that the living corpses, the warriors, and many things were related to Liu Ying's death, and he wanted revenge. "Wait," Chen Xing said decisively, "let's get the people out first. Let's go." Xiao Shan tried to make his way through the cave, but Chen Xing said, "Don't make trouble. Follow me." And so, he forcefully dragged Xiao Shan back to the tile camp. Chen Xing suddenly found that this trick was really convenient. No wonder Xiang Shu liked to drag or even sack him up directly every time he didn't bother to explain. The atmosphere in the tile camp was quite heavy. When Chen Xing rushed in, the crowd seemed to be making an extremely difficult decision. Xiang Shu's face was even uglier. "What are you going to do?" Chen Xing saw that there was food in the camp. He took it and gave it to Xiao Shan. As soon as Xiao Shan saw something to eat, he temporarily forgot about revenge, sat down, and began to eat and drink. Xiang Shu said, "At the 5th of the night watch periods, the tile will take the lead in guiding the 16 Hus of Chi-Eli-Chuan to break through the siege. Then, we will count how many people manage to escape. After that, we'll then find a place for the old and the young to settle in before looking for Che Lufeng." Chen Xing said, "Xiao Shan found a place. Ai. Don't drink. That's wine." Xiao Shan was holding an earthen jar and already drank more than half of the wine. At the 2nd of the night watch periods, more than 200,000 people of Chi-Eli-Chuan retreated quietly through the cave, not making any sound at all. Xiang Shu and Chen Xing stood at the entrance of the cave, covering the rear. Each of the clan chiefs counted the number of people and followed them to leave. At the 3rd, 4th, and all the way until the 5th of the night watch periods, crows could be heard all around the canyon. The teals were the last ones to leave. "After leaving the Yin Mountains, where are we going?" Chen Xing said, traversing the pass. "Go northwest," Xiang Shu said, "Karakoram." Chen Xing thought Xiang Shu would stay behind until people were evacuated, then single-handedly charge into the living corpses army and track down Che Lufeng, but he didn't do so. "Let's go," Xiang Shu handed over the drunken Xiao Shan to Chen Xing. Chen Xing was a little surprised. Xiang Shu took a deep breath, frowned, and said, "You're right, I have to be with my people now. I can't leave them again." As they moved towards the horse, Xiang Shu suddenly said, "Who taught you this?" "What?" Chen Xing, who was still thinking about the enemy, said offhandedly. Xiang Shu said, "You think more clearly than I do. Instead of acting on impulse, it's better to cherish the people in front of you." Chen Xing couldn't help but smile, thinking that perhaps it was because he didn't have much time left. As long as one knew that their life was ending soon, one would naturally pay more attention to the matters in front of them. But he didn't say that and instead replied, "I also don't know whether this is right or not, but you see, they all put their hopes on you. They just suffered an attack from the drought fiends and haven't calmed down yet. If we rashly counterattack, it will only be more dangerous. Everyone needs to catch their breath." All the horses were distributed. Chen Xing, Xiang Shu, and Xiao Shan all got only one horse. "That's strange," Chen Xing said, "where's the horse your mother left behind?" "Back at Karasha, after the horse ran away, it never came back." Chen Xing always felt as if the horse had wanted to take them somewhere. Not only that, he was pretty surprised by that bay which understood human nature. After the silence of all magic, many Yao tribes in the world had lost their abilities to talk, let alone cultivate their bodies. Although it wasn't said that the Yin Mountains had many Yaos, there must have been a few of them. Maybe both the horse and the bay were Yao's, and they knew more about what was going on. But since the situation was very urgent, they didn't have time to track them down. Xiang Shu, with Chen Xing who carried Xiao Shan, rode one horse together and followed the army. The 16 Hus knew that this was their last chance to live, so they all began to march in a hurry. Horses and chariots were given to the old, weak, women, and children. They reached Zaraskal River within a day. They arrived at Longchang after 3 days and nights, and Chen Xing was very exhausted. More than 200,000 people swarmed into Karakoram, making the whole abandoned ancient city come back to life. The first thing Xiang Shu did was to dispatch all the clans, reinforce the city walls, send more patrols, and burn torches throughout the night, turning Longchang into a huge military fortress. The hunters scattered all over the plain, scouting while trying to prepare supplies for the winter and hunting animal meat to feed their tribes. Xiang Shu said very little for several days, which made Chen Xing a little worried. On the first day of their arrival in Longchang, there was a little disturbance. The wolves completely surrounded Longchang's walls, making the tribes a bit fearful. Along the way, Chen Xing explained to the Hus that the wolves were the guardians of the Xian news, reassuring the rest of the tribes. But, on the 22nd of the 12th lunar month, the wolves began to howl one after another. Chen Xing followed Xiao Shan up to the city wall. Xiao Shan squatted down on the wall and shouted a few times. Xiang Shu also came and saw White Mane stepping out of the group. It looked up at Xiao Shan, and they howled at each other several times. Chen Xing suddenly saw tears in Xiao Shan's eyes. "They're going to go away, aren't they?" Chen Xing asked Xiao Shan. Xiao Shan didn't know why, but he kept hearing the word "go" these days. He understood and nodded. So White Mane led the wolves north and disappeared into the snow. Xiang Shu said, the wolves also knew that by staying here, they would only compete with others for food, and nobody would end up surviving the winter. The Xian news came out one after another to say goodbye to the white-maned wolf who was regarded as the wolf god. Chen Xing thought, "Xiao Shan, from now on, you will only have yourself." "Okay ba, in that case," Chen Xing said, "Xiao Shan, since your comrades are all gone, why don't we just..." "Xiao Shan, take a bath." Chen Xing was fed up with Xiao Shan. "No." Xiao Shan shouted, "No! No! No! Go! Go!" The first phrase Xiao Shan learned was Chen Xing, the second was "no," and the third was "go." After that, Chen Xing made a round all over the city and finally, with the help of the Xian News, the Teals and the Jaoks, he managed to seize Xiao Shan and put him into a public bath filled with hot water. Xiao Shan shouted "No! No! No!" And when Chen Xing finally scrubbed him, he began to scream more madly. "Look, I need a bath, too." Chen Xing said, "You are human. Not an animal. Even animals have to take baths." Chen Xing's whole body was soaked by the struggling Xiao Shan that he had to go in himself to make it easier to control him. The bath inside the Xiongnu King's temporary residence in Karakoram was 6 chi square. Note: 1 chi equals 22 centimeters. There was firewood being burned inside the water house, making the snow inside the frosted reservoir turn into hot water, which then could be used for people to wash. Chen Xing took a bath with Xiao Shan together, and Xiao Shan finally got all wet. He broke a jar before finally quieting down. "Just look at you." Chen Xing took Xiao Shan's wrist, scrubbed it for a long time, and then said, "So dirty." Xiao Shan leaned his head over to Chen Xing. "Chen Xing." Xiao Shan's hair was very messy, and then Xiang Shu's voice sounded, "He's letting you lick it." No matter what happened, Chen Xing wouldn't want to lick using his mouth. He remembered that when a wolf bathed his cub, it seemed it would lick the cub's hair. This was what animals meant by calf lick. Chen Xing had no choice but to lean over and sniff at it, creating an illusion as though he had licked it. Xiang Shu went inside the bathroom, unfastened his great chanya robe, and entered the bath, breathing exhaustedly. "What's the situation?" Chen Xing asked. "The scouts detected that the living corpses are already on their way," Xiang Shu replied. "They have just crossed Zaraskal River." Since it was freezing, the living corpses' army would move slower. Chen Xing had overheard it a few days ago from the Teals. Xiang Shu drew a plan and postponed his revenge. The most important thing was to take care of the lives of the whole tribe. In any case, if Che Lufeng had become a member of the living corpses' army, he would certainly come back. Chen Xing could feel that Xiang Shu's mood was extremely depressed these days. If it was according to his own will, he would have gone to look for Che Lufeng by now. But as the great Chanyu, it was his greatest responsibility to protect the whole Chi-Eli-Chuan. Chen Xing dared not ask more questions about Che Lufeng. He earnestly straightened out Xiao Shan's hair and only said, "We have to wipe these guys all at once outside Longchang." "Yes," Xiang Shu replied, "ever since the founding of Chi-Eli Covenant, this is the biggest danger we've ever faced, but I'm sure we can make it because fortunately, we have you." Chen Xing was quite surprised to hear this and glanced at Xiang Shu. Xiang Shu leaned over slightly and motioned to Chen Xing to rub his shoulders. Chen Xing said, "What? Me? You wash Xiao Shan, but not me?" Xiang Shu asked casually with his eyes closed. Chen Xing had no choice but to put down Xiao Shan and help Xiang Shu wash his hair. Xiao Shan wrapped himself on Chen Xing's back, his entire body was clinging onto him. Xiang Shu suddenly turned around and pushed Xiao Shan into the water, making Chen Xing and Xiao Shan immediately shout together. End chapter.